G'day guys, this is CX-5 twin turbo diesel. It's probably about 8 years old, 2013 or 12 or 14, whatever it is. This, you're looking at genuine hoses under the intake manifold. So what we've had here is this piece leaking. This bolts onto the block, just there. Now the issue you're gonna have is this bolt. These bolts are very, very tight. They're tighter than the intake bolts for whatever reason on this vehicle. And you're gonna have an issue getting this bolt out. Now, you can maybe get the bolt out if it's not been over tightened at the factory like this one was, but you're still gonna have a lot of carbon deposits. Now, this manifold is about to be cleaned properly. So that's for the EGR. You've got carbon in there as well, right? And we had all of this like 30-40% blocked. I might post the photo of them blocked as the whatever you call it for the video. Now, this piece, see the problem here, the throttle body faces down so you can't see anything. See this device, this heating device, the entire thing was blocked. So half this throttle body was completely blocked because that's a restriction. So that whole thing, you couldn't see it. Also, excuse me, Covey. Also, see that? I'm assuming that's a map sensor. Okay, that was completely blocked. This whole thing was blocked. So the main thing here is if you're going to do this job and you're going to clean your manifold and you're going to be manipulating this manifold, these hoses are quite inaccessible, right? You're going to want to change these hoses, especially getting on the age of the cars. Now, you don't have to because it's going to jack the bill up by $250, but you've got the hose here. Oh my God. That's the problem with magnetic tools. You've got this hose here. Hang on, guys. You got this hose here. You got this hose here. Okay. And then you've got endless. It's endless, right? But you've got the lower one here. You've got this hose and this hose. And this is if you're going to do the job right. Now, you're going to notice you didn't need to get the alternator out. Okay. Also, you can undo this clamp, lift it all the way up and take that hose off with the manifold on. I'm not telling you to pull the manifold off. You can do this without pulling the manifold off, but it's just not the way for us in a workshop at all. I do not recommend it. You can do it. Okay, if you can get these bolts off, you can pull that hose out from there and then somehow get that clamp back on and do all that. Now, in removing the manifold, I'm not going to make a video about how to do it, but there's one tip I've got. You're not going to want to do it the way we did it unless you're a workshop. So you can see here, we've taken this bolt out, which is the same as these, right? Now, my mechanic came and offered a favor to pull this bolt out because the bolt below here, this other bolt down there, you can't get to it, and I'll tell you why. Because of these steel pipes, right? But that's my only tip I'm going to tell you about taking this manifold out. The bottom bolt for this EGR business, under here, okay, and then you take the manifold off with this. The bottom bolt has those pipes in front of it. Those two, see those two? And what you do, you get your 3/8 drive or your quarter drive and just push, right? And just give those hoses a little bend out to get that bottom bolt below there, the matching bolt to that. But here my mechanic said, oh, he's got long bony fingers and he came in. Now, I don't recommend doing that because we're now going to have to put this bottom bolt on here and it's just not good. That's why I've actually gone and loosened both those bolts anyway. So you can do it either way. I recommend taking it out with this, and that way you're going to clean all in here. And that's what I'm going to do anyway. So look, there's a new intake gasket. There's the superseded part, okay? So whenever the Japs go plastic, they seem to go back to this. It happens on the Hi-Aces and the Hiluxes. They're the hoses. You can see I've got these bypass hoses. And you want to get as much of this carbon out. I mean, you don't want to go putting brake cleaner and combustion cleaner and all that in here when it's full of stuff. It's going to just create the biggest mess. So over the last few days, while I'm waiting for these parts to arrive, I just scrape away and tip it out onto a piece of paper here, and then put it in the bin. So that's just from this morning. There was heaps of it, as you can imagine. And in here, you're going to want to vacuum with an adapter. So we just use the heater hose, which is like that diameter, okay, or any diameter. In fact, you want to go smaller as well later, so you can get to the valve and you can just gently scrape the stuff away, because there's a lot of deposits to deal with, and vacuum them out with a vacuum. Hope that helps. Okay, I'm sure there's more to it. So there is. So you can see what I've done here, right? And this is where you begin to see the complexity of these cars. So to loosen, okay, sorry guys, this is what this whole EGR thing's about. See that bolt right there? See that nut? See that nut right there? You need to loosen that nut to get this piece out. Now, to get to that nut, you don't want to bend this water hose because you're going to crack the weld, okay? It's just like a 20-year-old Mazda, right? 30-year-old Mazda. It's like a Mazda CX-5. The Japs always did this. But this is particularly bad. So what's going on here is this charge pipe, which there's the outlet to one of the turbos, the lower turbo, you want to be moving, so you want to unbolt this bracket. Only then will you get to these clamps. The Germans' heads would spin if they saw this. And then you have to remove this bracket, or move it, loosen it, to get to that nut, to loosen that, to take it out with the manifold. Otherwise, you must get this bolt out from under here. Now, it's just ridiculous. I don't know how he did it, but I'm certainly not doing it. I've also got this hose, guys. That's the one I missed. Here's another hose. These hoses are in good condition. It's a diesel. It doesn't get too hot, but still, this car did overheat, by the way. So, all new hoses, but that's the bolt we took out to stop that. So that means battery out, no big deal. Charge pipe out of the way, right? But then the bracket to get all this off, it's not very nice, guys. What Mazda have done here is just not nice. Okay, you can see here, if you think you're gonna get to these bolts from here, you're not, because you can't. So that's it, twin turbo. There's a lot going on down there. Okay. Very complicated. Very, very complicated car. Now, when you try and get these bolts out, see the two bolts there for the plastic piece. You want to disconnect your oil pressure switch, which I've done, and I've put it back already because I couldn't undo this bolt, that one. There are people that do, but the minute I noticed the carbon thing going on in this car, it was shocking. Like this one especially, like it was 40% closed. So once you realise, look, it's you know, it needs this sort of intake clean, you're going to be pulling it all apart. Hope that helps. All right, bye.